Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the purpose emanating from his lotus mind. Attachment to the lotus is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my dark eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor and the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. You are the shade of your lotus feet. May your fame be spread all over the three worlds. And take shelter in the lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Vallabha Jaya Giri Bharadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Giri Bharadhari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari 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 Jai Sri Sri Radha Madhava ki Jai Jai Sisi Nitai Gaur ki Jai Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki Jai Jai Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Gaur Premanandi So today we're reading from the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Madhya Leela. And today's chapter is 21, which is entitled The Opulence and Sweetness of Lord Krishna. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
So today we're studying text number 68. Rudragana Aila Lakshakoti Vadana Indragana Aila Lakshakoti Nayana Rudragana Aila Lakshakoti Vadana Indragana Laila Lakshakoti Nayana Rudragana Aila Lakshakoti Vadana Indragana Aila Lakshakoti Nayana Rudragana Aila Lakshakoti Vadana Indragana Aila Lakshakoti Nayana
Rudragana Aila Lakshakoti Vadana Indragana Aila Lakshakoti Nayana
Rudragana Aila Lakshakoti Vadana
Rudragana Aila Lakshakoti Vadana
Indragana Aila Lakshakoti Nayana
Indragana Aila Lakshakoti Nayana.
Vaishnavis.
Rudragana Aila Lakshakoti Vadana
Rudragana Aila Lakshakoti Vadana
Indragana Aila Lakshakoti Nayana
Indragana Aila Lakshakoti Nayana.
Rudragana, the Shivas. Aila arrived. Lakshakoti Vadana, possessing 100,000 and 10 million faces. Indragana, the Indras. Aila arrived. Laksha, 100,000. Koti, 10 million. Nayana, eyes. There also arrived many Lord Shivas with various heads numbering 100,000 and 10 million. Many Indras also arrived, and they had hundreds and thousands of eyes all over their bodies. So Rudragana, Gana means followers. So many Rudras, so many Lord Shivas from so many different universes. They appeared, they arrived. And also so many different Indras from so many different universes. So each Rudra and each Indra came from a particular universe. So therefore we can understand that 100,000 times 10 million is the number of universes that all these different groups of Shivas and Indras came from. And they all came to glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And Sri Krishna, he was smiling, and he was very pleased to see everyone coming. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains a little pastime about Indra and why he had thousands of eyes all over his body. Srila Prabhupada's purport. It is said that Indra, the king of heaven, is very lusty. Once he had sexual intercourse with the wife of a great sage. And when the sage learned about this, he cursed lusty Indra with a curse that put vaginas all over his body. Being very much ashamed, Indra fell down at the lotus feet of the great sage and begged his pardon. Being compassionate, the sage turned the vaginas into eyes. Therefore, Indra possesses hundreds and thousands of eyes all over his body. Just as Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva have many faces, the king of heaven, Indra, has many eyes. So this is inconceivable for us living here in this particular universe, living in this particular planet, Earth, living in this particular country, Switzerland, and living in this particular city, Zurich, because we have never seen or heard anything like this before. This is like completely phantasmagoria. And therefore most people, they can't accept it. Why they can't accept it? Because they can't accept what their mind and intelligence can't conceive of. So their mind and their intelligence can't conceive of these things, that someone has so many heads and someone has so many eyes. It's inconceivable to them. Therefore, they come to the conclusion that it doesn't exist, and it's just some phantasmagoria, just some fairy tale that you tell children, but no one can possibly believe it. Something like Santa Claus, something like that, right? But the devotees believe it. Why do the devotees believe it? Everyone else doesn't believe it. Why the devotees believe it? Who knows?
Because they know Krishna is everything.
Because what?
They know Krishna is everything and can do everything.
Well, that's true. Lord Krishna can do anything. He creates everything. And his creation is completely his own expression, his own creativity as an artist. Krishna is the most supreme gifted artist. And so he creates his universes in such a way that it's pleasing to him. But the so-called materialistic people, they can only see things like in black and white, whereas Krishna is seeing things and creating things in millions of different colors. So they have a particular conception of reality, and that conception of reality is based on what they can see, what they can hear, what they can touch, what they can understand. So they look out in this world and they think that because our world is like this, every world is like this. That's like someone thinking who lives in Switzerland that because I speak Swiss German, therefore everybody speaks Swiss German. Is that a logical conclusion? No. So just because our universe looks like this doesn't mean that everything looks like this. So they come to the wrong conclusion. Just like, for example, in Sri Lanka, there's no snow. In Canada, there's snow. So when a Canadian tells a Sri Lankan, oh yeah, we have snow. Well, what is that? Well, it falls from the sky, it covers the whole ground. Oh yeah, we call that rain. No, this is different. So he can't understand what is snow because he's never seen snow. He has no idea what snow is. But here in Switzerland, you also know. So the idea that I can't understand something because it's not within my experience is not a very logical conclusion. It's not logical. So the devotees accept this because it's accepted by Srila Prabhupada. It's accepted by Lord Chaitanya. It's accepted by the 6 Goswamis. It's accepted by all the people that we understand have the highest knowledge. So therefore, I'm following in their footsteps, and I'm not following in the footsteps of the scientists. So the common people in Zurich, they accept what the scientists tell them. They blindly accept what the scientists tell them. They don't go out and perform their own experiments to see whether what the scientists say is true or not. Nobody performs those experiments. It's just the scientists say like this, it's written in the book like this, so they just blindly accept it. The devotees are similar. We blindly accept what the acharyas tell us, what is in the Shastra. We don't go out and perform our own experience. So we're both following the same path of acceptance, of authority. The karmis, the non-devotees, they have their authorities, and the devotees, we have our authorities. So we follow our authorities. They follow their authorities. Now, which authorities should we put our faith and trust in? That's the next question. So let's look at their authorities. Their authorities are conditioned souls. People who have 4 symptoms of a conditioned soul. Number 1 is they're in illusion. Number 2, they make mistakes. Number 3, they have the cheating propensity. And number 4, what's number 4?
Imperfect senses. Imperfect senses.
Imperfect senses, so they always make mistakes. So that's their authorities. Who are our authorities? Our authorities are those persons who come in the parampara from Sri Krishna directly, starting from Lord Brahma to Narada Muni, all the way down through all the great incarnations of the Lord to Lord Chaitanya, 6 Goswamis, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada. These are our authorities who are accepting the version of coming in parampara of the absolute truth from the very beginning from Krishna. So we have here conditioned souls being your authority, or Sri Krishna being the original authority and that knowledge coming down. So it seems that our position is stronger, that our authorities are much more solid, much more dependable. Yet you actually place your faith in our authorities. We cannot place our faith in their authority. So, for example, let's give a concrete example based on your life. Based on your life, right here, today, in Zurich. Okay? So, in your life in Zurich, in the last year, there was a pandemic. And you were advised, or sometimes even ordered, to take a particular vaccine, which is a shot full of chemicals. So where do these chemicals come from? Well, they're manufactured. Who manufactures them? Conditioned souls. They're called scientists, but they're conditioned souls also. They're not pure, they're not devotional, they're conditioned souls. So we're told to take a concoction, a chemical concoction, manufactured by conditioned souls who have imperfect senses, they have a cheating propensity, they're in illusion, they make mistakes. Why should we have faith in that? Then on the other hand, we take shelter of Lord Krishna, because Lord Krishna says that he will protect his devotees. Lord Narasimhadev protects his devotees. In fact, Lord Narasimha, his one and only Leela is to protect the devotees. And Lord Krishna in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, he references Lord Narasimhadev. He says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. O Arjuna, whenever there is a rise of adharma, irreligion, and a decline in dharma, true religion, at that point I advent myself. Sambhavami yuge yuge. I come again and again to re-establish the principles of dharma. So how does he come? And what does he do? So in chapter 4 of the Bhagavad Gita, shloka number 7, he says, Yada yada hi dharmasya, I come to establish dharma. How does he do it? The next shloka, number 8. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam, to protect the devotees and to annihilate the demons. Dharma samstapakam, to establish true dharma. I come again and again and again. So this is Lord Narasimhadev. This is Lord Krishna. There are 10 of the top. There are so many Vishnu avatars, so many avatars of the Lord. 10 are the most prominent. And of those 10, we have the Das Avatar Stotram, the prayers of the top 10 avatars or incarnations of the Lord. Not the top 10 songs on the radio, but the top 10 incarnations of the Lord. And then Rupa Goswami, he has written in his Laghu Bhagavatamrita commentary that of all the incarnations, of all the Vishnu avatars, of all the forms of the Lord that appear in this world, 3 are the most important. Number 1, Krishna is the most important. Number 2, Rama is the most important. And number 3, Lord Narasimhadev is the most important. So every temple in ISKCON has Lord Narasimhadev on the altar. And here we see him in the center. Small picture. He may have a small picture, but he's giant, ferocious. And he destroys the demon Hiranyakashipu. And when Lord Narasimhadev appeared, he was very, very angry. Now, when the Lord appears to annihilate the demons, he's generally not angry at all. Generally, he enjoys the fight. This is called the chivalrous rasa. There are 5 main rasas and 7 subordinate rasas. So one of the 7 is the chivalrous rasa, where Krishna enjoys fighting. This is a masculine thing. The women may not be able to relate to it as much, but the men can relate to it, fighting. It's a masculine thing. So Krishna enjoys this, and in all his interactions with demons, he's smiling and he's happily playing with them like a cat and a mouse. When Shishupal insulted Krishna at the Rajasuya sacrifice, Lord Krishna just sat there smiling, picked up his Sudarshan chakra and sent it and cut off the head of Sudarshan. Very simple, very easy, because Krishna can defeat any demon or any army with just his little finger, without even any effort. So why was Lord Narasimhadev so angry in his fight with Hiranyakashipu? He was angry because Hiranyakashipu had tried to kill Prahlad in 10 different ways. Throwing him in a pit of snakes, and Lord Narasimhadev protected him. Throwing him where there's wild elephants to be trampled, but Lord Narasimha protected him. Throwing him off the cliff, trying to boil him in oil, 10 different ways. Hiranyakashipu tried to kill the pure devotee, Prahlad Maharaj, who was only a young child of 5 years old. This is the greatest sin. To try to harm someone who's defenseless. A 5-year-old boy cannot defend himself. Not only that, but he's a pure devotee. So Lord Nrsingadev was so angry because nobody came to protect Prahlad. Lord Brahma didn't come to protect Prahlad. Lord Shiva didn't come. Lord Indra didn't come. Nobody came. So when Hiranyakashipu smashed the pillar and Lord Nrsingadev came out, he was very angry. Not angry because of a fight, because with his little finger he could kill Hiranyakashipu, but he was angry because no one had tried to protect his beloved devotee, Sri Prahlad. So, of course, we all know the story of Lord Nrsingadev and how he killed Hiranyakashipu, right? Everybody knows? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So, then after annihilating the demon, and there was blood everywhere, it was gruesome. Lord Nrsingadev is known as Yoga Nrsinga in India. Why is that? Because if whatever temple you go to, 99.9% of the temples, the deities are standing. If you ever gone into a temple in India or anywhere else, in ISKCON, the deities are standing. But not Lord Nrsingadev. Lord Nrsingadev doesn't stand. He sits in Yoga Asana. And therefore, he's known as Yoga Nrsinga. Because when he killed Hiranyakashipu, who had so many boons, one of the boons was that he couldn't be killed outside or inside. So Lord Nrsingadev dragged him to the threshold of the doorway. So he wasn't outside, he wasn't inside. Lord Nrsingadev killed him not during the day or during the night, but played with him until, because the sun was going down, and when the sun actually set and it was no longer day and night had not yet begun, then he killed him. Hiranyakashipu also had the benediction he could not be killed by either any human, any man, or any animal. So Lord Nrsingadev is half man, half lion. So he fulfilled all the boons of Lord Brahma. He could not be killed by any weapon, so he was killed by the claws of Lord Nrsingadev. And he could not be killed on the land, he could not be killed in the air. So Lord Nrsingadev at the doorway, the threshold of the palace, sat in Yoga Asana, and on his lap he killed the demon. Therefore Yoga Nrsinga, as he's known in South India and in most temples, he's always in Yoga Asana, sitting. So he's a very special deity, very special incarnation or avatar of the Lord, and he protects his devotees. So he was so angry because no one had tried to protect Prahlad Maharaj. What we should learn from this, that we have to protect the devotees also. We can't allow that some devotees being tortured or harmed or assaulted in any way by some demon, and we don't do anything. Because then we're going to receive the anger of Lord Nrsingadev. You want to please Lord Nrsingadev, you have to go and try to help a devotee who's in some difficulty, being attacked by some demons or whatever. So, Lord Nrsingadev, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Paritranaya sadhunam, he protects the devotees, vinashaya chaduskritam, and he annihilates the miscreants, dharma samstapakam, to establish dharma once again, to re-establish the principles of Bhagavad Dharma, service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because that is our constitutional position. We're Nitya Krishna Das. We're eternally the servants of the Lord. And when we're not in our constitutional position, what is the Sanskrit word for that? Yeah, I told you yesterday. Maya. So you're either in reality, in truth, in tattva, truth, or in Maya, in illusion. So let's try and stay in truth. So here in this chapter, so many different personalities are coming to glorify the Lord Sri Krishna. They're coming from all different universes, not just this one universe. So we're getting information in the Chaitanya Charitamrita and the Srimad Bhagavatam that no one else outside of spiritual life, outside of Vaishnava Bhagavad Dharma, no one else has any conception of, no even idea of. And Srila Prabhupada has explained that when we're talking about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we have to understand one thing, that He is achintya, inconceivable. So what does it mean, inconceivable? Well, for example, just to make it clear, supposing there was an ant, and he was on this lectern, and he happened to walk across the page. What would the ant see on this page? We see Bengali script, we see Roman transliteration, we see commentary. What does the ant see?
Black seas?
The ant only sees black and white. In fact, he doesn't even see that because he only has antenna. He doesn't see anything. So this page that we're reading from, that we're getting so much knowledge from, is totally inconceivable to an ant. And the difference between us and an ant is not so much compared to the difference between us and Krishna. The difference between us and Krishna is infinite difference. And the difference between us and an ant is not so much. So therefore we have to understand the achintya shakti, the inconceivable energies of Krishna. Totally inconceivable. So therefore we have to only accept it on authority. And Prabhupada says, though, that the conditioned souls, they don't have any authority in spiritual life. So they have to bring God down to the level of their intelligence, so now they can understand Him. They bring all His pastimes, His conception, everything He does down to the level of what they can conceive of, and now they feel that they can understand and worship God. So that's the difference between mundane religion and the absolute truth that we've been given. It's the inconceivability of the absolute truth. And that the knowledge that we're receiving is coming down. It's given by Lord Krishna to Lord Brahma, to Narada Muni, coming all the way down in Parampara to Lord Chaitanya, 6 Goswamis, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, and to us. And I was in the class in 1975, February the 9th, in Los Angeles, where Prabhupada was speaking, and he was so humble. You know, his humility was unbelievable. So one of the things he said, if I have any credit, here he was, he had already established hundreds of temples all over the world, printed so many books in so many different languages. He'd done so much in the short period of time, 10 years. Less than 10 years. In 75, it was less than 10 years. And he was saying, if I have any credit, because before that he said, my Guru Maharaj, he said, ordered me to spread the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world. But I am an old man. What can an old man do? That's what he said. And then he said, so if I have any credit for doing something, it's only one thing. What was that one thing that Prabhupada said he might have credit for? That I have delivered to you the knowledge of Krishna coming in parampara, without adding anything, without subtracting anything, as it is. as it is, as it was, as it always was, and as it always will be. And as soon as you make any changes, you lose the authority. Because who's making the changes? Us, conditioned souls in the material world. It's absurd. It's the most ridiculous thing. So the parampara is coming down purely. And Prabhupada said, if I have any credit, it's only one thing. I've delivered it to you as it is, without subtracting anything and without adding anything. And then he gave an example. He gave the example of a postman. Now the government, let's say here, the government in, what's the capital? Geneva? Is Geneva the capital of Switzerland? Bern, okay. So if the government in Bern sends a letter to a citizen, to a person living here in Zurich, the postman delivers that letter from the government to the individual person. He never opens up the letter. He never changes a word or takes a word out. He delivers it as it is. So Prabhupada gave the example that I'm just a postman delivering the message from Sri Krishna to each and every one of you as it is. Nothing changed, nothing added, nothing subtracted. So we're getting this knowledge in the Chaitanya Charitamrita here in this particular Leela here, where everyone's coming to glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we accept it because we know how it's coming. You know, Narada Muni, he's traveling all over the different universes, and he's a preacher. But he also has his authority. So sometimes during his preaching in different places all over the universe, he gets challenged, just like all of us do when we go out. So he comes to his authority. And who's his authority? Lord Brahma. And why does he accept Lord Brahma as his authority? Because Lord Brahma, he says, Lord Brahma, I'm accepting you as the authority because you were here before the creation, before there was anything. You were the one who manifested the creation. You were empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to give you all the knowledge, all the Shakti, everything that's required to create the material universes. This material universe in particular. So therefore, you're the authority. So you must know who the Supreme Lord is, because wherever I go, people have a different idea who is God. But you must know because you were empowered by that God before the creation. So you tell me who is actually the Supreme Lord. So when I go out preaching, I can tell everybody. So Lord Brahma, he was very pleased. Oh, Narada, this is such a wonderful question you have. Now listen carefully. I will tell you and answer your question. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adi Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. That the supreme controller of all other controllers is Lord Krishna. He's eternal, full of knowledge, full of bliss, and he's beginningless. But when he wants to begin things, he takes up his flute as Govinda. And he's the cause, therefore, of all other causes. And he, through the playing of his flute, I heard that sound vibration, and that sound vibration gave me everything that I needed, all the knowledge, all the empowerment to be the creator, but I'm only the secondary creator. The original creator is Sri Krishna. So Lord Narada Muni was so happy. Oh, wow, this is so wonderful. Now I have it from authority. This is it. You know, anybody challenges me, I can say, it's Sri Krishna. So Lord Brahma was very happy that he satisfied Narada Muni. So he says, I'm so happy to see you so satisfied, Narada. Narada says, but I just have one more question. Oh, what is that? Well, people will want proof. They have little faith. I have to give them some kind of proof. Just that you told me They want a little bit more proof than that I just heard from the authority. So what can I say to them to give them more proof? So Lord Brahma said, oh, that's very nice. Well, you tell them like this, that I was there in a room, and there were many candles in that room, and none of them were lit. But then all of a sudden, one candle came into the room that was lit, and that one candle lit all the other candles. And when all the other candles were lit, that candle stood beside all the other candles. So anybody who came later saw that all the candles were one. They were all equal. But they didn't see which candle lit all the other candles. Shri Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani Ki Jai. Shri Narasimhadev Bhagavan Ki Jai. So Lord Brahma said, but I was there, I saw this candle lit all the other candles. And that candle was Govinda, that was Krishna. So Narada Muni was very happy. So we're getting this knowledge. So we have our authorities. So even though these things are inconceivable to us, we can accept them with full faith because we know how that knowledge is coming to us, and it's not coming from conditioned souls who have imperfect senses, who commit mistakes, who have a cheating propensity. What is the cheating propensity they have? They'll say something to get money. It's a business. The worst thing that ever happened in human society was when they turned health care into a business. Previously, health care was done out of love and concern to heal people. But then they turned it into a business. Now we're going to make money out of healing people. And then they came up with a better idea. Because if someone comes to me, I'm a doctor, and I cure them, they go away, they're no longer a customer. So they're only a customer once, they come, I heal them, they go away, they're healthy. So what we need to do is let's come up with medicine that has side effects so that they go away, we solve their problem on this effect, but then they get other effects, so they have to keep coming, and now we have lifelong customer. And you know these medicines that have side effects, you know where they come from? You know what their source is? Their source is not from the plant kingdom. Their source is from petroleum, from oil. And now we have a great business. We have customers for life. So why we should take shelter of such people? We take shelter of Krishna. And that's why everybody's coming to glorify the Lord. Because they understand that Krishna is there for our benefit, to give love and to help and to heal and to bring us back home, back to Godhead, and out of the clutches of the demons who control this realm of Maya. And we can thank Srila Prabhupada for coming and giving us this knowledge. Otherwise, we would be conditioned souls like everybody else. And we'd have no idea about anything, just like everybody out in the streets have no idea. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Any questions or comments?
Thank you very much. I had two short questions. But I also wanted to inform you, we also have Nrsingadev's Shila here on our altar. Apart from the picture, we also have a Shila of Nrsingadev. So my first question is, you emphasized how Prabhupada gave us everything as it is, and this is something I often think about, also our responsibility in theory and practice to keep everything as it is. And of course, it's just something I've been thinking about for the past few days, that for the younger generation and as the older generation, their shelter, we are gradually being deprived of their shelter. So that way it is a responsibility of the younger generation also to keep everything as it is. So maybe if you could just share something on this aspect.
Okay. Prabhupada said that his only credit, if I have any credit, it's only one thing, that I delivered it to you as it is without changing anything. If that's his credit, then that should also be our credit. Everybody agree on this point?
Yes.
We should also have that same mood. Okay, my credit is that I delivered the parampara to the next generation without adding anything or without changing anything. That should be my credit also. I should follow in the footsteps of the Acharya. Now, that's one consideration, following in the footsteps of the Acharya and not changing anything, keeping it as it is. That's one consideration. There's another consideration that people discuss, and that is right or wrong. Was this right or was this wrong? Was this a mistake? Was this a misunderstanding? Did someone do something wrong or right? So, for example, they always bring up that Pitri Loka in the Bhagavatam. When Prabhupada said Pitri Loka, the person who was transcribing it was thinking, oh, Pitri Loka, the planet of the trees. So that's a misunderstanding. So let's look and see what is the real definition of Pitri Loka. Oh, it's the residence of the forefathers. Okay, so we can make that change because someone made an error in the transcribing. So now this idea of what is right and what is wrong has expanded and has become more important to some people than just following as it is. So Prabhupada speaks about principles and he speaks about details. And he says that the principle is always much more important than the details. The Shastra, they only speak about principles. All the Shastras, they're discussing the principles of spiritual life. So an error in transcribing something, a misunderstanding, is not a principle, it's just a detail. So we fix that detail. But now, some people, due to being conditioned souls, they consider that the detail is as important, or sometimes some people think even more important, than the principle. Let me give you an example to make this clear. The principle in every Shastra is to serve the Vaishnavas, to honor and respect the Vaishnavas. But there may be some person who sees a particular Vaishnava doing something wrong and chastises that Vaishnava, gets very heavy, very angry, insults them, does everything. Okay? So doing something wrong when you're young, new in devotional service, that's just a detail. And the principle is you always respect the Vaishnava. But this person thinks the detail is more important, so he's chastising the Vaishnava instead of honoring and respecting. So this is a disease in the material world, that the details become more important than the principles. We should never allow that to happen in our own life. We should stick to the principles because the Shastra only deals with principles, doesn't discuss details, because details are not so important. You can make a mistake. Who cares? Krishna even says, speaking of details, you may fall down, that's a detail, to the most abominable situation, But if you come back to devotional service, sadhureva samantavya, Krishna says, I still consider you a sadhu. Krishna is only interested in the principles. You're again following dharma, that's great. The detail that you slipped and fell down, not important. So try to understand the difference between the principles and the details. The principles are 1,000,000 times more important than the details. We never make the details more important than the principles. And the main principle is we follow in parampara. We don't concoct anything. We don't change, we don't add, we don't subtract. Just like Prabhupada gave the example, he's the postman delivering the message from Lord Krishna to the individual. Prabhupada left, now we're the postmen. And the next generation, they'll be the postmen. It's going to be different postmen, but they all have to give the same message. Okay? Is that clear? Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
I had yet another question, I'm sorry. Another question.
Another question. Okay, this is very good. Prabhupada liked questions.
I mean, if there is somebody else who wants to ask. Oh. Because you also mentioned about this inconceivability of Krishna. Mm-hmm. And when you were speaking about it, what you said yesterday during the Kirtan really struck me, of how the holy name is not different from Krishna. The holy name is manifesting for us to be able to see, like the Murti form, for example. So the holy name is like the deity for our ears. And for me, I feel that to understand that the holy name is so inconceivable, because sometimes I think I really try hard to have a relationship with the holy name. And mostly it doesn't happen. That strong relationship that stays for a very long time, it's very difficult for me at a personal level. So how do I reconcile this inconceivability, yet the fact that I can have a relationship with the holy name?
Okay, so it's a very nice question, and it reminds me of a similar question that I received when I was giving a talk in London some time back. And one lady raised her hand, and she said, I've been following this for many years, and after many years, I really feel that my chanting is simply mechanical, no feeling whatsoever. And I don't want to chant the Lord's name just with mechanical, with no feeling, no understanding, no relationship. So I'm thinking it's better not to chant. So I said to her, Madam, do you have a child? She said, yes. I said, do you sometimes find that dealing with the child is routine and mechanical? She said, yes, sometimes it is like that. I said, will you ever give up your child? Never. And I said, because you love your child. And if you love the holy name, you'll never give it up, even though it's mechanical. Even though you don't understand it, you'll never give it up if you love the holy name. And what's wrong with mechanical, I said? There's nothing wrong with mechanical chanting. And I gave the example. I had for my own life, I had my own example, but I gave an example to her that most people can understand, is that after a Sunday feast, let's say, the temple room floor needs cleaning. Someone comes in and they clean that temple room floor. And it's mechanical. But what happens? The temple room becomes clean. So mechanical chanting can clean your heart. It won't bring Krishna prema, but it will still clean your heart. Anartha nivritti. We have to get rid of these unwanted things, the dirty things, the negative things in the heart anyway. So the mechanical chanting gets rid of that, cleans the heart. Now a clean heart can experience love much easier. So there's nothing wrong with mechanical chanting. There's nothing wrong with I don't have any love or understanding that the holy name is non-different in God. You don't have to have that. Let's take a child, for example, an infant. A mother has a little baby. Maybe he's 1 year old. She has so much love for this child. But this child cannot conceive of the love the mother has for him. And he's only receiving, he's only taking food, taking service, everything. Just take, mother, give. And he has no idea of loving relationship with the mother. But then maybe when he's 5 or 6 years old, all of a sudden, one day, he comes to the mother and he picked a flower. He said, I want to give this to you as a gift, to say thank you. And the mother's heart melts, because now there's reciprocation. And that child's beginning to understand what is a loving relationship. But the child will still never be able to understand the mother's love until that child grows up and has children of his own. And then he'll understand. So don't worry that we don't understand that everything is inconceivable about Krishna. It will become conceivable. I mean, when I first started, I had blind faith. Okay, let me try this. I have no idea. Sounds good. Let me give it a try. Now I have a lot more understanding. So understanding comes over time, gradually, as you become more and more purified, as you study the books more, as you do seva more, as you hear the holy name more, as you engage in kirtan more, as you take more prasad. All the fog is cleared away, and you get clarity of understanding. It takes time. Therefore, Rupa Goswami says there's 2 things required. Necessity. 2 things are necessary. Number 1 is enthusiasm, and number 2, patience. Utsahan is enthusiasm, and Daryat is patience. So let's enthusiastically and patiently carry on our bhakti yoga, and we'll come to that level of understanding. Okay? Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you. Krishna just inspired me with another point about the difference between the details and the principles. And I was saying a misunderstanding of translations and details. And then I remembered that Prabhupada always used to quote the shloka that even that Vyasadeva wrote, even if the shlokas are imperfectly composed, or there may be some error, because they're glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they're perfect. So, that's a famous shloka about that. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Maybe that's the problem. You can ask maybe Ceylon or something. Maybe that's it.